Good morning, Susan. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
So, what is happening today? It is August the 1st. So, we are back. It's back to school month. Are you ready to be back in the trenches?
Well, with these emails that just keep coming in, I was looking for something, and there's lots of parents that are not ready to be back in the trenches, apparently. So I think that means we're not ready to be back in the trenches.
Well, I feel like, July was like summer. You know what I mean? Everybody was sort of in vacation mode, and the calendar flips to August, and here at least, because we're back to school before Labor Day in Sarasota County, everybody is in that frenzy mode of, do I have the supplies? Who's my teacher going to be? What school is my kid going to? Um, Lots of unanswered questions.
What day does school start, Sarasota County?
August, I don't know, 10th-ish, somewhere around there.
So does that mean next week is the last week, or do we have 2 weeks? Let's see.
I, you know, I should know that answer, but I don't.
Next week, Friday
Is
is the 9th, and then 12th must be the first day of school, maybe, if it's going to start on a Monday.
probably usually does here.
Yeah, so next week's the week before school. I wonder, when do teachers return? You know,
I think next week is their back to school. I don't know. It feels, and we've been around for a while now, and we went back and forth between school starting at the beginning of August, school being delayed by statute to the almost the end of August, and it seems like we've now the pendulum has swung back and we're early again.
yeah, I don't know. It's coming quickly, and we've got a new administration, and we've got lots of changes coming, and we're hearing a lot from teachers and parents, and lots of unrest, I would say, would be a word we're hearing, which does not give comfort to a great school year kickoff. But we know there's a big effort on compliance in Sarasota County. This we know to be true. So let's hope that shifts the needle a little bit somehow.
Yeah, I think, whenever there's a new beginning, people have anxiety anyway. And so when you have a lot of unanswered questions, it just amps everybody up a little bit more.
Right. Well, let's maybe jump into just a quick update about what we talked in the last podcast. We talked about an awful situation here in Sarasota County where teachers were arrested because they submitted time slips, or whatever you call it, what you're supposed to submit to get paid, and they did not actually perform the work for students that were hospital homebound and also students that were incarcerated. So since that time, we've tried to get some further information, and I think, although the school district and the school board members were non-responsive, the sheriffs were responsive, weren't they, Susan?
They were. So we did a public records request, and what we were asking for was any contracts between the sheriff's office and the school district to provide services to students. And so I'm going to hop back to the PowerPoint that we talked about in the last podcast. Just a very brief recap that in 2015, we did a complaint to the U.S. Department of Education. And at that time, because the youth who were incarcerated were not getting education services that they needed and were entitled to. And so the result of that complaint was the state did a statewide training, and it was titled, I think, Everything an ESE Director Needs to Know. It was their annual kickoff meeting in September. And the end of the presentation was specifically about students in adult county jails. So these are youth who have been charged as an adult. They have not been adjudicated, so they have not been found guilty, and they're sitting in jail. And many of these students are kids with disabilities, so they have IEPs. But one of the things that the Florida statute said was a cooperative agreement with the local school district and applicable law enforcement units shall be developed to address the notification requirement and the provision of educational services to these youth. So this was distributed, it's copyrighted 2014, but it was distributed in 2016. So as a follow-up, I went to see, has state law changed? Is it still the same? So let's go look at that real quick.
And when was the complaint again? What year?
2015. And so when I look at Florida statutes for 2024, lo and behold, statute 951.176, provision of education, starts off with each county may contract with the district school board or the virtual school or a charter school or a Florida college system to provide education services for inmates at county detention facilities. The education services may include any educational, career, or vocational training authorized by the sheriff or chief correctional officer or his or her designee. So when I did the records request to the sheriff's office, what came back was a contract with the technical college here in town from 2017 to 2022 to provide educational services identified in number 1. But it is not a current contract. It ended in 2022. And according to the records clerk at the sheriff's office, that's the only agreement that they had in their records. We've also made a request to the school district to see, do they have something additional or the same thing. Have not received a response to that yet. And I think it's been a day or two since we made that request.
Well, if the school district had it, the sheriff should have it. If the contract.
Right. I would think they would have the same records, but you would never know. And so provision 2 of the statute says, and this is the group of kids I think we were concerned about on Tuesday, minors who have not graduated from high school and eligible students with disabilities under the age of 22 who have not graduated with a standard diploma or its equivalent, who are detained in a county or municipal detention facility as defined in statute 951.23, shall be offered educational services by the local school district in which the facility is located. So we have a county jail in Sarasota County. It's operated by the sheriff's office. So it would be the Sarasota County Schools. These educational services shall be based upon the estimated length of time the youth will be in the facility. And so again, that can be up to 11 months, 29 days. It's not unusual for some of these kids to be there 5, 6 months or more. And the youth's current level of functioning. School district superintendents or their designees shall be notified by the county sheriff or chief correctional officer or his or her designee upon the assignment of a youth under the age of 21 to the facility. A cooperative agreement, and that's what we were looking for, a cooperative agreement with the local school district and applicable law enforcement units shall be developed to address the notification requirement and the provision of educational services to these youth. So this is, the same wording that's been in the statute since 2015 still stands in 2024, and there shall be an agreement. And I don't think that means a handshake and, a beer. I think it means that there's supposed to be a memorandum of understanding or a contract or some formal arrangement for these services to be provided.
We pay a lot of people a lot of money to stay on top of what the statutes are and for this school board to be compliant with these statutes. We pay a law firm here that there was a lot of controversy over. We pay outside consultants. We've got committees. How do they drop the ball like this? We've got policies. We went over policies when Jane Goodwin was in charge. It was this big back and forth about who's going to control the policies and, this group or that group. And then since that time, we've elected 4 people who for years told us as soon as we had 4 people, everything was going to change. And now here we are with nothing different than what you complained about in 2015 and still no contract.
Right. Right. And so obviously there was some attempt to send somebody to do something because they were falsifying records and somebody
Right.
was paying them for it. But the formal process of having an agreement in place that statute requires does not seem to be there. And, if you aren't playing, I say this all the time in IEP meetings. When we follow the rules, when we actually do what the policy requires of us, we often wind up at the right place. It's when people like don't do what they're supposed to do, when there is not accountability, when there's not transparency, when there is a lack of
Leadership.
There you go. Thank you. I was stuttering there.
Because we don't have it. We
I'm
clearly don't
sorry.
have it.
I'm sorry.
It's a hard word to find when we don't have it, Susan.
Yeah, it wasn't top of mind, that's for sure. But it results in bad outcomes for kids.
Yep.
If our kids had everything they needed and they were all doing well and their outcomes were good, I don't think anybody would be sitting on a podcast talking about this stuff. But the reality is, unless citizens are speaking out and paying attention, bad stuff happens to the children we are charged with serving. So, as you can hear, this is frustration for me because I felt like I spent a year and a half of my life working with a group trying to really make sure we solve this problem. And it wasn't about our work and us. It was about we've got this group of kids who often don't have a voice. They don't always have families who are in a position to make sure that or even know what they're entitled to. And so, there were a lot of people within the 12th Circuit who really spent a considerable amount of time tackling this issue and trying to figure out what were we supposed to be doing? How should it happen? Is it happening? Who do we need to get invested and bring to the table? Meetings, follow-up meetings. And so to know we are back in the same situation is just mind-blowing to me and so sad because who's watching out for these kids?
Well, and even more than the 12th Circuit, it was throughout the state. And I know throughout the state, there were different bar requirements put into place for professional development related to ESE students. And this would encompass some of that, along with certainly the hospital homebound component of this. So it is the judicial branch looking at this. And here we've got something that should be in place collaboratively between the sheriff and the school district, and lots of people getting paid to follow up on this stuff. And it's still non-existent. And then we're paying teachers to not teach the kids that we don't have a contract for.
Right. And like we said on Tuesday, one of our sitting school board members was on this same committee with me back in 2015. So it's not like this should be an unknown issue. He sat in the same rooms that I did and heard the same concerns. And I don't know. I'm like,
he also is chairing our audit committee. right now that we can't get a meeting for. No matter how I ask, I can't get a meeting. And alarmingly, one of the contracts that was audited and paid for by the outside auditor under another statute that we have, that we're supposed to have this audit committee.
You are a broken record, my dear.
Let me just finish. And we audited contracts to a glowing degree. I dissented. I said, no, we've got problems with our contracts. And even the auditor that audited the contracts has problems with his contracts and it's in how he submits invoices. So here's another example of paying money out the door that there's no accountability for, yet they raised our taxes the other day, these school board members.
And back to if there's not processes that are solid and in place and functional and followed, we have problems. It always leads to problems. And when there's not oversight, and when there is oversight and we don't choose to follow it or to follow up on it, we wind up that it impacts kids. You know, I know you and I, when we talk, it's often we're concerned about they're asking for more tax dollars. Where's the money going? We surely can't follow the money, because the way you follow money would be to have a budget that's your roadmap to where are the dollars going and how are they spent. And you have that now, right? Because July's over, it's August 1st, and July was supposed to be the big reveal month that you would get the whole budget.
Well, that's what the superintendent was telling a lot of people who started asking for the budget, but it's the same sound bites that they use. They're going to blame the legislators. They're going to blame, it's like this, you know, and people get tired. Now we're going back to school and everybody's worried about who the teacher is going to be, because that's another dark hole. We can't figure out who the teachers are. We got a lot of new clusters that parents don't know.
It's a cluster.
But I think they count on people. First of all, I've been told they count on short memories and they count on people not understanding and believing what they say. And that's been true for years, until this community starts uniting and saying, hey, wait a minute. You know, the easiest thing to do, and by design, the easiest thing to do is pull your kid out, take the voucher, and get the heck out. And you and I have seen this coming for years. And we tell the parents, but
I
then
remember sitting in your kitchen in another state in 2016, 15, having the same conversation, watching the train run down the track and saying, you know what, if they don't fix the problems, people are going to say, I've had enough. And they're going to be left with no choice but to somewhere else.
But it was by design. Even think about that OPAGA study. That OPAGA study showed if we do this, it will cost us less money to educate these kids, and parents will think we're giving them choice. So we've got statutes, because we have that other statute you could pull up that you so eloquently read about following the money, and our state legislature put that in place, and it's comprehensive. I can read it. We've got an email. We've been sending that to the FLDOE for over a month now, and they won't answer our questions. So we sent it to our state senator, and he's also silent. Mr. Gruters, you know, head of the education committee, at least he was. Why can't we get those public records in our Sunshine State? So the answer is
Debbie's coming.
Who's Debbie?
Debbie, she's the potential hurricane that's coming for us this weekend.
What does that have to do?
Because you said it's our Sunshine State. I think the problem is we're really a hurricane state.
We've got storms coming now. I get it. Yeah, it's true. It's just absurd. It's absurd. So, but here's the answer to that. So when you've got a budget, you should have allocated what all the job positions are within your budget. The school board's supposed to approve that. They're supposed to approve an org chart, job descriptions, all that stuff. So interestingly, it was brought to our attention today. Can we pull up that job posting, Susan?
We can. Hang on just a minute. Let me fix something. Hold on just a minute. There we go. And you probably want it a little bit bigger. Can you just read it?
Posting date 8/1. Is that today?
It is today.
Posting date 8/1. We are going to hire someone to report to the chief of the high schools, the new layer of administration, a program specialist, alternative education, dropout prevention, and a judicial liaison. Interesting.
So was this a new, I don't know, is this a new position? Is this it's been posted, it says for 3 days. But it says that its posting date is today.
None of these postings ever make any sense at all.
What kind of math is that? No wonder our math scores suck.
Right. You know what? I don't know. We got new chiefs over HR, so I'm sure it's new math.
All right. Well,
But the question becomes, we used to have someone that did this job.
we did.
You sat in meetings with these people. We pay attorneys lots of money to coordinate the statutes and align them with process and positions, and we should be looking at outcomes. And instead, we're looking at 2 teachers allegedly charged with grand theft and fraud and swindling our district.
Well, and I was curious, is this judicial liaison related to the same topic we've been talking about, or is it a different judicial liaison? So I clicked trying to get the job description, but I don't know if you can read it. It says file not downloaded, potential security risk. So
How can anybody apply to a job if they don't know what the job is?
say that again.
How can anyone apply to a job if they don't know what the job entails or what the qualifications are?
I don't know. And maybe my computer, like I said, it keeps quarantining this. It will not let me open it.
I'll try.
Um,
I'll try. Well, I did look at the other job posting. There's another place in the district where you can see all the jobs that are posted. All these new compliance people are listed there, so you can see what their job descriptions entail. Although it's not very clear, even though that $150,000 no bid contract had a problem with our poor job descriptions, I don't think anybody made any effort to correct any of that stuff. But
well,
this,
maybe that was year 2.
I don't know. But this position is not there. So the
Okay.
question becomes, is it in the budget that we can't see? Maybe that's why we can't see a budget.
Well,
'Cause-
didn't you tell me that we have dropping enrollment, and so there was some conversation about whether they were going to need to cut positions, but that they came to the conclusion there was enough unfilled positions that they weren't going to have to cut current staff.
Well, I didn't tell you I was reading an article from the local rag that talks about what is being told to them from the school district. So there was a period of time that I recall where the superintendent put a hiring freeze in place. And even though he put a hiring freeze in place, there was a teacher from Pineview that was recruited over to be the new hiring person at the district. And he was going to do retention and recruitment and all this stuff, which made no sense because that move happened and the next day they said there was a hiring freeze. So following the chain gets very convoluted because if we have dropping enrollment and we're hiring all these people at an administrative level, and we are working with parents here and now today that can't get answers about who's going to be helping their students in the classroom and who the teachers are going to be. But we've had this huge focus on these 6-figure positions at the district with the road of transparency leads to accountability. Yet I think we're anything but transparent and accountable recently. So
circling back to the topic of kids in jail, talk about the the email that you sent and the response that you got.
Give me 1 second. I'm looking at the org chart. One of the emails I asked for was the current org chart. Now, we were
Okay.
told this person was reporting to the chief of high schools, right?
hmm
So I'm looking at the chief of high schools. Her name is Dr. Megan Green. And Dr. Megan Green has Booker, Northport, Oak Park, Pineview, Riverview, Sarasota High, Triad, and Venice High. Those are our high schools. The supervisor of athletics and PE reports to her, Mr. James Stanton. The executive director, career and technical and adult ed reports to her. That's Dr. Rhonda Pillow. We have a director of instruction and curriculum, Michelle Anderson. And that's all we have at the district. So the most recent org chart does not include that position that I can see. Let me check one more place.
And I wondered.
There's program specialists underneath the director of instruction and curriculum. We have a program specialist for English LA, maybe that's ELA, 9 through 12. We have a program specialist for science. We have a program specialist for math. We have a program specialist for social studies. We have a program specialist for ESE. And we have a program.
Where's that?
Pardon me?
Does it have a name?
Nope. Has
Okay.
one position. And a program specialist for ESOL and instructional materials and library sciences. So this would appear to be a new program specialist that's not in the org chart for this year. Not sure if it's in the budget, but there's a job posting for it without any explanation of what the job is. Is that accurate?
Sounds like what we know to be true based on public documents at this moment.
I agree. Okay.
And I know that I was being a little facetious, but I really mean that truly, because it feels like this is a moving target. And so we're cautious to say, as of 8/1/24 at 11:30 a.m., the current information that we have based on public facing documents and response to records requests, this is what we know.
Right. And we've done everything we know to do to get more information and make it make sense. What email did you want me to read?
The the one where we asked questions about the situation in the jail.
Oh. Okay, this was sent to the superintendent, and all of the school board's members were copied on it, including Mr. Enos, who is very familiar with this committee and chairs our audit committee he'll have time to meet with us in September, even though we were supposed to meet in March. Mr. Connor, can you please tell me who instructed the district HR investigator, Ms. Cambria, to limit the scope of the investigation related to the 2 ESE teachers charged recently to the school years 22-23 and 23-24, although there is evidence provided from the sheriff dating back to 2018? That was the first question, because the scope was limited by their own admission in the probable cause affidavit, and we didn't understand why. What was the reason the district decided to give credit for 5 hours, 4 hours of instructional time, and 1 hour of planning time, rather than the time actually spent in the jail, according to the information given to the district by the jail? It is stated in the probable cause affidavit that the district gave credit to the defendant for 5 hours, even if the records from the jail indicate the defendant was only there for 15 minutes or a half an hour. And then lastly, what has the district done to research and deliver compensatory education to the incarcerated and hospital homebound ESE students impacted? Well,
And what answer? When did you send that?
I think Monday.
Okay, and it is Thursday. And what did you learn?
Nobody's responded. So the last time we had very simple questions and we just wanted to educate a student and we were non-responded to like this. We tried, we were very friendly with them. We're always friendly. We do you remember the meetings we went to? This
I
is
do.
not the least restrictive environment. Why don't we really educate this student?
Yeah.
We've got to tell that story in one of these podcasts. We just wanted him to go to a different high school. He's getting bullied at this high school. Could we send him to a different high school? You guys have the power to do that. I mean, they do it all the time.
Hmm.
We were met with brick walls and silence and non-responsiveness to the point where when we finally took it to court, the judge ruled it was an act of Congress to get some things out of our district that we should have gotten easily.
Right.
So let's hope they respond differently rather than just a job posting that has no link.
Yeah. I mean, and I know that sometimes they probably think, oh God, it's those two again. But truly, we want kids to get the education they are entitled to. And we know, because you know me, benefit of the doubt always, that they have a big job and that they have a large number of students that we serve as a district. We're a big, not as big as some in Florida, but compared to a lot of places across the country, we're a pretty good sized school district. But when you have these fatal flaws that keep happening over and over and over again, somebody has got to ask the hard questions and really like help them find the right answer so we don't keep doing this.
Well, and it should be people that are getting paid to do this.
Absolutely. It
It
shouldn't have
should. No. When a parent emails and asks a question following up on something that was agreed to in an IEP meeting with an IEP document, this district is hiring layers of compliance people when they're told the problem isn't compliance, move the academic needle. And the tone we're getting in some of our customer service unfriendly communications, we've got an email from a compliance specialist and the answer was copy me on all emails because this is my job. Well, she was copied on all the emails. Like, why didn't she answer any of the questions we asked if that's her job? So I just think the tone needs to change. And until this community comes together and agrees with that.
Just so you know, you're frozen. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're frozen also.
Okay. I hope we're not having internet problems.
Well, what else were we going to cover today?
I think that's it, really.
Was it? So we've got an answer back from the sheriff. We've got no answer back from the district. And we've got school starting next week, I think, are some of the Meet the Teachers.
Yes. And so, families, if you're out there and you're having problems, we'd like to hear about them just because if you're having them, probably other people are. And maybe we need to, figure out solutions. And we'll keep you posted as we learn more about what's going on and with our kids with hospital homebound and the kids that are incarcerated. If we can get some answers, we'll be happy to share.
Have a great day, Susan. I think we're all frozen now. I'm not sure if you can hear me, but we'll be back Tuesday, hopefully with some answers and maybe a new topic.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.